Good day, folks. How are you today? My name is Tosin Kolaoli, and I welcome you to Climate Action 101, where we talk about local actions that individuals, institutions, and governments are leading in responding to our climate crisis. Climate change it's an existential threat to our dear planet, and therefore it requires all concerted effort to respond and to mitigate all causes of climate change as it impacts everybody on the globe. In responding, one of the key factors to consider is how do we draw down the carbon in the atmosphere? Well, these are roles that are spread among individuals, institutions, and government through their policies. And governments of the world in 2015 met in Paris. Each government come with its own pledge called the National Determined Contribution to reduce carbon emission to the barest minimum and to reaching the goal of 1.5 degrees parts per million in the atmosphere. But 5 years down the line, question is how has our government fared? Knowing fully well that climate change is an existential threat to all lives on Earth, which is especially was on vulnerable communities and people from the front lines. People who are the front line and who do not have enough resources to respond to this climate impact. So the question is, do we just fold our hands and let business go as usual? Some individuals around the world are moving beyond hope. Matter of fact, they're moving beyond prayer because hope and prayer, it's not enough to stop our climate crisis. We need concerted action that is driven by courage and boldness. So that introduces us to our guest today, Mr. Chibeze Ezekiel. You hear more about the story so down the line. He has led a concerted effort for the stoppage of coal mining activities in Ghana. There's a short documentary about him that would play that tells a little about how much is done in Ghana and how we can also learn from what is done and be inspired to also lead in our communities. Um, Hi, great. Congratulations once again on the Goldman Prize, which you just won, and that's a testimony to the hard work you did in Ghana. I mean, I understand it's as a result of your direct effort that you've put in about 4 years, grassroots mobilizing the campaign and all that, that the Ministry of Environment in Ghana was able to counsel the construction of a 700 megawatts coal power plant. And that coal power plant would have actually been the first in Ghana. But that is actually at a conflict with the pledge that the government of Ghana made to the Paris Agreement. We appreciate what you do, but I just want to start by asking you, where did this passion and concern start from? Why are you responding to climate change?
Okay. Good afternoon, Tosin. I hope I can be heard.
Sure. Please go ahead.
Good. So let me say a good afternoon to your cherished viewers and listeners. I'm not too sure where, since we all live in different locations. So good morning to some, good evening to some. So let me also thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my work on this climate change endeavor. Yeah. So the whole idea started in 2009. When I had the real opportunity to be selected by the World Bank and British Council on a program that they jointly organized to train young people as master trainers on climate change. So we were three from Ghana and other young Africans that were brought together to be trained. And then the idea was that once we were trained, we now have to go back to our respective countries or communities to also educate other young people on the impact of climate change. So that was the first time I got introduced to the concept of climate change way back in 2009. So since then, I'm involved in climate change activism. And but let me say that it was in 2013 that everything actually played out in terms of how we have to seriously put climate change on our agenda. Again, I had a chance to attend the Global Power Shift Conference that was held in Istanbul, Turkey. It was organized by 350.org. So we had hundreds of young people, about 400, if I'm not mistaken, from different parts of the world, all working on climate change. So we converged for about a week, learning from other people's experience, what they're doing on climate change. And then, so we were 7 from Ghana that went for that conference. So when we came back to Ghana, we said, well, how then do we sustain, this idea or this intervention or these lessons we've learned? So we then formed 350 GROC. So that is a GROC, Ghana Reducing Our Carbon. So the whole idea is that we are forming a movement, to champion interventions, programs, and activities with the aim of supporting government or other stakeholders to cut down on our carbon emissions as a way or as a contribution to the fight against climate change. Yeah.
Okay, but what's the drive for you? Can you give us a brief context of climate change impacts in Ghana?
Well, there are different forms of impact that we have witnessed over the years in Ghana, and increasingly, it keeps getting worse, as we go by, especially when we don't put in place enough adaptation measures or mitigating measures to help the poor and vulnerable in society. So Ghana, for example, is divided into 3 zones, which I want to call the northern zone, the middle zone, and the southern zone. So the southern zone basically is a coastal area, where we have more fisher people living by the coastal areas. And then the middle zone is where we have the forest areas, where we have more farmers in our country. And the northern part is the high temperature areas, with high, humidity, sunshine, and all that. So depending on people's geographical location, they are affected differently. So, for example, those in the southern sector, the fishermen have started complaining that now they spend more effort, putting extra energy, to go fishing, because I read some studies which shows that because the seawater is becoming warmer, the fish are now going deep into the sea, because they can't come to the surface anymore because of the heat or the water is getting warm. So the fishermen now have to go deep, spend more effort and energy in search of the fish. The other issue has to do with the sea level rise. Because the ice are melting, it's causing sea level rise, which is also affecting people living in coastal areas. In fact, I've seen a whole community that has virtually been submerged by the sea. So that shows a clear impact of climate change on those who are living at the coastal area. In a middle zone where we have enough farmers, they depend on the rain for their farm, for their business. So over the years, they are able to predict rainy season and dry season. So they're able to sow their seed in anticipation of the rains. But because of the climatic changes, these days it rains unexpectedly. Even when it's rainy season, we are not even guaranteed of rains. And when the rains come, they are very short but heavy. And when they rain in that manner, they cause flood. They destroy properties. In fact, I saw recently a video of a head, of a cattle that were being washed away by the sea, by the rainwater. So you could tell that somebody has virtually lost his business capital, because a whole, head of cattle being washed, by the flood. So these are some of the direct consequences that is having on the farmers in the middle zone. And of course, those in the northern part, they are also experiencing severe heat waves. I think I was in the north some time ago, and even putting on the air condition was not enough, for the room to be cool. So it takes several hours, for you even to get a normal temperature to rest because of the severity of the heat. So indeed, geographical locations is also counting on the kind of impact that the climate change is having on the people of Ghana at the moment. So those are some of the ways by which climate change is affecting citizens of Ghana.
And so in your description, you alluded to the fact that all these impacts creates sense of loss to them, and it affects their livelihood. So that is the human angle part of climate change that sometimes some people do not see, and they wonder, is climate actually changing? Even for some people who maybe benefit from the system, they would normally say to you, it's always been changing. There's really no need for us to want to make things better. It's to people. How do you respond to people who believe that, well, climate has always been changing? Let's just continue business as usual.
Well, I mean, it is true that the climate has been changing, and it is also true that the climate the climate or nature is able to replenish itself. But what we are saying is that human activity, is affecting the way nature naturally organizes itself. So, for example, if people who live in a forest, all right, you have a small family, maybe a husband, a wife, and 5 children. They live in a forest or in a small community. They're able to go to the bush and catch grass cutter, maybe once, as much as they can feed for some time. So, but just imagine if population increased in that community to about 500 people or 1,000 people. But we cannot say that the population of the grass cattle or the deer or the antelopes will increase in that same manner, because there'll be more hunters in the field catching the same limited resources. So that's argument. So now population is increasing. In Ghana, years ago, we were just about 10 million or 15 million. Now we are barely about 30 million Ghanaians. The same space we live in Ghana, the same water body we have, the same resources we have, and yet human population is increasing. So again, we don't expect that nature will be able to manage itself because of the number of people who are now depending on it for the source of livelihood. And one simple example usually I do give is that imagine putting 2 people in a room. No matter how hot the room is, they can try to manage, but put about 100 people in the same single room, because human beings also emit carbon. So the room already is hot. People are emitting carbon from their body. They inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. So that also increases the carbon in the room. So the problem, the room hasn't changed, just that the number of people in the room has increased, which is affecting the climate in the room. So that is the argument you are making. So now, because companies or the private sector or the fossil fuel industry are emitting more gas into the atmosphere, it is affecting the way nature naturally is able to reorganize itself. And the sad part is that once we are emitting carbon, we are at the same time causing deforestation, cutting down trees, and the trees are supposed to absorb the carbon. So if you cut down the carbon and the trees, it means that we're going to have more carbon in the atmosphere, and this will therefore lead to the depletion of the ozone layer, and therefore affecting the way nature naturally works. So our argument is that yes, nature is able to organize itself, but human activities is interfering with the way nature works, and when that happens, we are the ones who get suffered. We are the ones who suffer from the consequences.
Thank you. Some 5 years ago, I'm sure Ghana also were part of the nations that signed on to the Paris Agreement to reduce its carbon emission. But I read a report, actually, that was what actually led to you being awarded the Goldman Prize, of efforts by government, as it's in Ghana, also in Nigeria, by efforts by government to revert to coal mining. Why did you rise up? Why did you mobilize the community to stop that? Why were you so concerned about coal mining business?
Well, so in my introduction, when I was telling you how come I got much involved in climate change, I mentioned that when we formed our group 350 Ghana Reducing Our Carbon, so our whole idea or campaign was to raise awareness on the need to cut down on our carbon emissions as a way of fighting climate change. So if all of a sudden the government of Ghana is intending to build a coal plant, it means that it is inconsistent with the obligations that we have assented to, as a country. So there's a need to draw government's attention to it, just in case, I'm not too sure whether it was deliberate or they may have forgotten, to draw the attention that this project is inconsistent with the Paris Climate Agreement. And beyond that, we're also concerned on the kind of impact that the coal plant will have on the people. I had a chance or the privilege, to travel to a number of countries, including South Africa. I was actually taken to a coal mine to have a first-hand experience in terms of how coal mine the coal, the area where the plant is, how I could not even breathe because the air was polluted. So I had first-hand experience. So when I came to Ghana, in fact, that actually also enhanced my campaign, because I saw what was happening in South Africa, and I said, look, if we sit back, we're going to suffer, in Ghana. So that was one of the reasons why we're so active and very particular about this campaign.
Wow, thank you. That's quite incredible. That's quite incredible. And how were you able to achieve so much success? You went into community organizing. What were some of the strategies you used that other people also can adopt and use?
Well, one of the strategies we use, which I normally prefer to call it the submarine approach. So basically, we were underground. We were just making our research, our in-depth analysis, because you see, we're engaging government, and government is a very big stakeholder. So if you want to engage government, you must have information. You must have your facts right. You must have your arguments correct. So you can't just come out and argue with the government that, okay, coal is dangerous, coal is this, coal is that, without providing some substantial argument. So we have to do our homework very well, and which means we spend some time doing research. We have to go to the community to talk to the people in the community. One, to find out whether indeed, because one of the requirements, by the environmental, social, and impact assessment is that before government comes out with a project, they have to do community engagement. So they said, okay, they did some community engagement, that the people were in support of the project. So we have to now go and verify from the people. So all these things were done underground. We spent about 3 or 4 days with the people in the community, hearing their views, their concerns. So, and then we're also trying to use that opportunity to tell them, look, this project, even though the intention is to bring light, but the other consequences can actually affect them and even their life, as a whole. So we have to engage them on the ground to, one, get their buy-in, because once you have the people's support, and it becomes very difficult for the project to kick off. So those were some of the underground things we're doing, and I think that it is very important, for grassroots organizations to have that at the back of their mind, that you can't only be in the city and engage the state agency. We did that. I mean, we organized press conference, we did social media campaigns, we wrote publications, but that was one aspect of the campaign. But the other leg is to engage the people directly who are going to be affected directly by the project. Once they understand the impact and they say no, government cannot, usually we have to listen to them. So we applied all the options available to us. And again, one of the things we did was that we did not go alone as 350 GROC. When we went to the community, all the information we got, all the assessment we did, we came back to the city, and then we engaged CASA. CASA is a CSO that brings all CSOs working on the on natural resources and environmental sector platform in Ghana. So they brought all the coalitions together for us to give them a debrief of what transpired in the community or in the villages. So it was a way to build numbers, to build momentum, to get people behind us. So when we come out publicly, it's not just be 350 GROC, but we'll have a number of CSOs also backing our agenda. So those were some of the steps we took. So before we came out publicly, we had done some real, grounds and some real work at the ground level.
Thank you. Sorry, I understand that the secrets of men are in their stories. So I just want to hear more about you and the sustaining grace. I understand it took like 4 years before you could achieve that. Year 1, year 2, year 3, before year 4. What were some of the challenges along the way? What kept you on? What were some of those times you feel like giving up?
Well, to be honest with you, there was no time that we felt like giving up. The idea came. I mean, we read in the papers, it was published that the government of Ghana was having a discussion with Shenzhen Energy Group, a Chinese company, to build a coal plant. That was in 2013. So we picked the news, our own, investigation, and then we were given an idea as to where the coal plant to be sited. And then, so in August 2014, we went to that region, the elders and to sensitize them on the impact of coal and to prepare them so that when government starts engaging, they can have enough information or they can be in a better position to ask government some critical questions. So if you watch the video that Goldman produced, I think the last part we were dancing, you saw a group of people dancing. So that was the 2014, where we went to that community. And then that was the end. We didn't hear anything again, but we were also not sleeping. We were also monitoring the situation. And then in December 2015, the government came out with a scoping report on the project, coal plant. And then in January 2016, they come out with a scoping notice to the public that if you have any concern or any issue, you can address or write to appropriate quarters. So at that point, we realized that government is now serious with the coal plant. But thankfully, because we were still doing our analysis and tracking, from 2014, we're prepared, for them. So between January 2016 and October 2016, we're actually on the neck of government with severe campaign, bombarding them from all angles. And then so that was there. So we're also actually following closely from what government was doing. So that was how we spent the 4 years.
Thank you. Your campaign, I'm sure they were in conflict with some business interests, some vested powers.
Yeah.
Did it just go so simply? Was there any opposition that came across you? Was there any attempt to break the group and your resolve?
Well, there was. We didn't encounter such a challenge. Initially, I wouldn't say it was more like a threat to our lives, but it was more like a way to convince us or to change our mind. They brought together their whole legal team, to engage us as a way to let us know that they've fulfilled all their obligations here and there. They even took us to one of their project site plants to demonstrate that as VRA over the years they have abided, they always abide by environmental standards. There's never been any chaos in Ghana. Have we ever heard any news that people have died? There's fire explosion? No, they have experience, So they took us around, to some of the plants, and we said, well, we have heard you, but our checks also show that this coal plant will not be in the interest of us. So, but there were a couple of issues that came up along the line. I recall that our plan in a community was one to visit each community. There were 7 of them around the sites, that was supposed to be for the coal plant. So we went to those 7 communities. One, first of all, to speak to the chiefs and elders, and then seek their consent, and then come back later to organize a conference for them where we'll show them videos and audio visuals, of what coal plant does to people, so that can better inform them, in terms of how they can also engage and be prepared for government.
Hello. Hi, viewers. I think Chibeze is experiencing some technical glitch right now. His video is stalled, and I can't hear him. Well, this sometimes happen on some of the calls we make. But Chibeze Ezekiel is an inspiration to a lot of people, and also an inspiration to me. And the purpose why we're bringing him on is that through his stories and his experience, we could probably learn one thing or the other. Because whatever he has done in his community in Ghana, it's also duplicatable around the world. The goal to reduce and to draw down carbon in the atmosphere and to also stop the expansion of new fossil fuel infrastructure, it's the goal to mitigate and solve our climate crisis and restore our planet back to the path of sustainability. Is the goal that should interest and concern all of us. So we have young people who are doing this, other people are doing it in different areas, government who are also responsive, because we have no other planet we can call ours, or that we can call home rather. This is the only planet we have. And its ability to continue to sustain us rests highly on how well we're responsive and we're reducing our carbon and environmental impact on the planet. So thank you for joining us today on Climate Action 101. My name is Tosin Kolaole. And please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share with your friends. This is designed to spark conversation on how we can build a world that is sustainable, a world that is habitable, a world that can continue to meet our needs for now and also meet the needs of people in the future. And so that'll be our broadcast for today. Till next week again, where we'll be coming again with another climate actors, people who are responding in their communities to the impact of the threat. Climate change is an existential threat to all forms of life on the planet. And the role to do this and the role to respond, it's upon us. It's not going to come easy. Hope is not enough. We need courage to act. And please go with this light, go and do something in your community, go and mobilize, organize people to identify areas that need environmental responses and create a change. So to come away again next week, please go and take care of the environment. Bye-bye.